Hello and welcome to Relatively Ordinary. I am Carl. Just this is where you say your name.
Yep. Yep. Hi, my name's Betsy. Welcome, everyone. I do not sound like a robot, but my husband does
No, you sound
sometimes.
like a jackass.
I'm sorry. I just have to laugh. You sound like a robot when you do that. No other time, but that sounds a little robotic.
It really doesn't.
Okay. I'm
But
sorry. I know you're annoyed with this. I'm not doing it to
it's
annoy you.
it's an annoying shtick.
It's not a shtick. It's
It's a
just a
shtick.
matter of fact.
It's a shtick.
Okay, I'll stop.
It's a
That was that was the last time I do it.
You promise?
I'll do it in my head a lot,
All right.
but I won't do it out
Yeah.
loud.
Okay. Good enough. Good
Okay.
enough. Well, welcome to
Mhm.
the show. This is our
Middle
first one.
middle-aged married people clash show.
Yes. This first one in a couple weeks, which is a
Yeah.
kind of a long gap for us.
I know
We try to record weekly, but
you were eager to.
yeah, I've been
You've been missing
itching.
it.
I've been actually missing it. I'm actually missing it. Like I
Yeah.
really enjoy the conversation, the process,
Mhm.
spending quality time with you. At least 36 minutes of every episode is quality. Sometimes they go over an hour, but 60% quality.
Hey, I was gonna say anywhere between 50 and 60% is pretty
Yeah.
solid. I'll take
Yes.
it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, it's been a while. It's been busy. There's been a lot going on with work and kids and travel. So
Yeah. Yeah.
such is life.
That's life, but
But we're back.
yeah, it's good to be back
Mm-hmm.
in the world-class recording studio.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what's new with you?
Um,
What do you want to catch me up
you
on?
know, I don't know if it's anything new about me worth talking about, but I mean, we could talk about the fact that like our president is deranged
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and threatened to wipe Iran off the map
Mm-hmm.
earlier this week
Yeah.
and then didn't, which was
Oh, well, of
biggest,
course.
non-surprise
No, I
ever.
mean, empty threats and, I think leaning into the clickbait
Yeah.
himself is just part of the act.
Yeah.
It's
We
disturbing, but I think it's an act.
we also could talk about Christy Nome and her
Mm,
interesting home life.
yeah. Let's not gossip, though.
We could talk about how Meta and Google got sued and were found liable for damages.
Yeah.
Kind of go back to our topic about the dangers of social media and kind of interesting precedent there.
You just listing all the bad things from this week. Okay,
Well,
now you have to share
there's
one good thing.
so many
I know. Very interesting things happening.
interesting things.
Well, unless it's the topic for today, you need to tell me one good thing before I ask my
Well,
intro question.
a good thing is that it's baseball season
Yeah.
and, our son's playing baseball and
Mhm.
our daughter's playing field hockey and
Mhm.
she
It's not field hockey season though.
great performance in her
Oh, her piano
piano
recital.
recital.
Well, no, her talent show.
And, we're starting to see some buds on the trees here. So maybe it's springtime.
Oh, and all of my starts.
And your plants
Oh my gosh.
are thriving. We're going to have a great
Guys.
garden.
I have calculated. I did quick math. I have about 100 plant starts
Nice.
littered around the house.
Nice.
Tomatoes, peppers, cilantro, kale, lettuce, some flour, you name it.
And we're going to sell them all
Boom.
for $100 a piece. And that'll be
No,
like
but we are going to do a fundraiser with them.
$10,000.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned. That is exciting. That is good news.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, my question for you, if you were to be part of the crew and I'm gonna try to pronounce it correctly now, Artemis,
Mm-hmm.
the Artemis 2 shuttle that recently returned to Earth, pretty incredible.
Yeah.
But
I mean, that is the good
That
that is the good
there's
news. But I
that
didn't
is
want to steal your thunder because
oh.
I had a feeling you were going to ask
Oh, well,
about
then
that
I could have, like,
because you were asking me
segued.
how to pronounce it before
Yeah.
the.
Whoa, whoa, slow down. We don't need to divulge all. It could have been your good news, and that would have been a good
Yeah,
segue.
please go on.
Ball drop,
Tell us about Artemis.
yeah. Uh, if you were part of the crew, what item or memento would you need to bring with you?
My Vishla.
Oh, stop. Do you think a dog has a dog been in space?
Yeah, the Russians
Okay.
sent a dog into space
Oh, how did the dog
before they sent a
do?
person into space, I believe.
Oh, that's just cruel. Okay. I do not think our dog, who has pretty significant anxiety and needs to run miles per day to, you know,
Yeah, she'd have a
stay
rough
alive.
time. No gravity.
Oh, can you imagine
Uh,
her on that treadmill being
yeah.
strapped down? Oh my gosh. That would
Oh
be
no,
crazy.
that's a great question. I mean,
Okay.
I'd probably do like
Just stop. I know you're thinking a photograph of me, but
no,
that's a little
no. I
cheesy.
was thinking of a baseball glove, and
What?
then I was like, well, if I have a baseball glove, I need a baseball. So
What? That's 2 items.
yeah,
And why would you need that? Why would you need a baseball glove floating around the cabin?
I wouldn't be floating around the cabin; it'd be in my hand.
Okay. The whole
I mean,
time?
it'd be fun to like
What would
play
your
catch.
role be that you have a baseball glove
I
on your
mean,
hand the whole time?
to be clear, like if I was on that mission
You would be IT.
and I was in that shuttle, my number one job would be don't touch anything. And number
Yes.
two job would be please stay out of the way. Number three
You and
job
your
would be
damn baseball glove.
stop eating all of our food. We need to ration this.
No more freeze-dried hummus.
Yes.
Knock it off.
So, yes, to be clear, I have no business being on that shuttle,
I
but
know, but lean into my question.
yeah, love a baseball glove.
Okay.
Meant to,
Yeah, but
meant to
you would
that.
be, I mean, if this was to be sort of a reality, you would be the IT person.
Maybe,
Okay.
but I'm sure NASA has much more qualified
Oh, yeah.
IT and software engineers and technical
Yeah.
people than me. So again,
Duh.
I reiterate,
But remember, you have those robot skills.
who invited this guy? Please don't let him screw anything up.
Shit, we have a stowaway.
Yes.
All right.
Standards have really dropped.
Cool. All right, a baseball glove.
Yeah.
Impractical. I would ask why, but I don't really want to know why. Fine, why? Why would you want a baseball
I
glove?
mean, because I like baseball and I
Oh
like
my
my
god.
glove. Like,
Okay.
what kind of question is that?
Wow.
Yeah. What would your memento be?
Oh, okay. I'm not judging. I'm judging. I'm
Yeah, you're
judging.
judging, completely
Well,
judging.
honestly, I didn't really think of anything. I thought mostly of
Which is a
practical
much
things.
worse answer
No,
than
oh, no, no, no. I was thinking of something highly practical and you're gonna mock me for it.
a screwdriver.
No, my toothbrush.
Yeah, that's not a memento. Like, what the
No, I said item or memento. Item or memento.
change of
No, no.
underwear.
Okay. Well, yeah, but I still think a toothbrush is more important than clean underwear. I could just go commando. It's been necessary before.
Yep.
But yeah, ooh, probably a photo of you guys, maybe a letter from you. I make you write me a letter. And then I read it a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
But, well, anyway, that's been a cool story.
Yeah, it has
And
been
it's
a cool
great to
story.
see, you know, it's great to, sort of go back to the idea that, like, well, science and
Yeah.
exploration and intellectual curiosity still matter.
Mm-hmm.
And they're actually pretty cool. And Americans can do pretty cool things when we put our minds to it.
Yeah.
So,
It's been neat seeing some of the videos they've shared of, what they do on a day-to-day basis and how things operate and some of the technology. That's been really cool.
yeah, I haven't actually followed it as much as I would like. Mine's been other places, but
Mm-hmm. Well, you
yeah,
should check it out.
I think it's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Cool stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, main topic for today,
Okay.
and this was inspired. We're actually I wanted to record this last week,
Mhm.
but we just didn't find the time for it. But I want to talk about religion,
Oh.
and I want to talk about it sort of in the starting out with kind of the context of Christianity. Kind of is in a weird moment right now
Mhm.
where you have like Pete Hegseth talking basically like we're in a holy war in the crusade and invoking God and Jesus in acts of war, which are pretty, heinous and unjustifiable acts of war. Um, and a lot of Christians rallying around Donald Trump, who is about like one of the least religious, least Christian people that I can possibly imagine
In his actions.
in his everything.
It's everything.
Um, and yet, it's religion is as important to American life and to, you know, culture and civilization across the
Mhm.
world.
Mhm.
So I guess what is it that draws people to religion? And what are some of the things that we're doing in our country and our civilization that are tied to that? And then maybe where are we drifting away from what religion is supposed to be?
Wow, lots of questions there.
No, just three.
Yeah, but I'm like a one and then move on to the next kind of person. So I'll try to do that. So, what draws people to religion, in my opinion? That's your first question, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna kind of seat this in my upbringing, and those people I have relationships with who are more religious than me, because I would consider myself not very aligned with any particular religion, but I appreciate learning about religion. And I would say I have someone who has faith, but not ascribed to a certain religion anymore. But I grew up, you know, I guess a good Catholic. I went through all the sacraments up until I met you and you turned me on to the devil. But
Mm-hmm.
that's a story for another day.
Mm-hmm.
But no, what I would say draws people to it is, well, your cultural context and your upbringing, right? A lot of that's rooted in, you know, spirituality and some of the exposure to religion within your family. And then, another big piece of it is the opportunity to build community and connection through your religion, whether you're attending church or, doing activities that are religious, celebrating holidays, things like that. I think that's the community spirit. I think it also, uh, you know, being human can be very hard. And, we're beings who have evolved with this frontal lobe and we're deep thinkers and,
Some
you
of
know,
us.
some of us. And the world can be a cruel place and it's hard to rationalize. And I think that sometimes religion gives people an opportunity to, I don't know, support their mental health and well-being. And it's, a way of guiding them through difficult times and showing up for others when they're experiencing difficulties, right? So those are probably the big reasons that I think people have religion. And that's, why I would say, for someone who is no longer, I don't regularly attend church. I don't consider myself a good Catholic anymore, but a lot of the stuff I learned as a child, going through it and, experiencing that religion firsthand and, participating in different religious activities. and now still thinking of myself as someone who has spirituality and, a faith and something, whatever it is, just that the human connection piece is really important. And, in times when I feel like I'm stressed to the max, or I'm dealing with grief, or, I'm worried about these big things that are happening in the world, I can sort of lean on these lessons I learned that I think is common in a lot of religious um, groups, that we, should just be, um, patient, supportive of others. It's not the, m- you know, taking taking it and weaponizing it and making it a rationale for bad behavior, but more of, what we would say is supporting of each other and trying to do the right thing and just being kind and conscientious and, a good human.
Yeah, you said something in there that I wanted to kind of circle back to about spirituality,
Mhm.
because I think that when I see people invoking religion to do things that are seemingly antithetical to that
Mhm.
religion, and I think about, you know, violence in the name of Jesus,
Mhm.
right? Like,
Yeah.
who is inherently nonviolent.
Yeah, that was
Uh,
not part of my religious upbringing, I'll
yeah,
tell you that.
and it makes me think that the you can have religion in terms of the practice and the ritual and the language and the trappings,
Mhm.
you know, without actually having the spirit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I actually think that even as we see this, a lot of conversations around religion and Christianity sort of dominating in certain circles of the national narrative,
Mhm.
there seems to be a lack of spirituality
Mm.
in it.
Yeah, or really thinking about what, the truth and foundation of your religion in a way that it's not black and white, right? I think it goes back to, I was saying people will weaponize it or use it to push their agenda.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where there's a lack of flexibility. And I I don't know that, and I live in a country where I have a lot of freedoms. So, I can kind of pick and choose how I want to lean into certain messaging and what I appreciate about certain religious practices. And I'm sure people were brought up in much stricter communities, with reference to their religion, and so you sort of get indoctrinated, and maybe even perhaps through that, just you know have this impression that your beliefs are right, and so you put up walls and barriers. But I still think that most religions teach tolerance and acceptance
Mm-hmm.
as a foundation. So even if someone's other, we don't necessarily need to, you know, b- uh, for lack of a better word, cut them down or choose violence. And it's important, circling back to your thoughts around spirituality, to really think about what this messaging means, and that it's not to, create these strict protocols and, you know, make everyone sort of a cult follower, right? It's that to me can't be religion.
Yeah.
That can't be religion. To me, that seems like criminal activity. A cult,
Well,
right? Doesn't like cult to me feels like it could be to the level where there's lots of wrongdoing.
Well, I I
I
think
mean, maybe it's
maybe
just my interpretation of
maybe to your
cult.
point
Do
of
I don't think any religion is a cult. I don't think true religion should be looked at as a cult.
yeah, well, I guess
You
I
don't
think
agree with me. Let's unpack this.
well, no, I'm not saying that, but I'm trying to find the link between a cult and criminal activity. What I would say is
Mhm.
that when you get into a cult like mentality, you start to get to thinking around, well, our because our way of thinking, our way of life is superior, then we are justified in taking an action that might be contradictory to, you know, some of our teachings around morality
Mhm.
and justice. Because in the end, we're the chosen people
Mhm.
and we deserve to, you know, have the power. We deserve to live while others die, or
Yeah.
whatever that is. So I don't know. There's a direct link between, being a cult and being a criminal, but
Well, I
I
guess
think I think
I
I see.
no, I don't think that people who are part of a cult are criminals. It's that what happens in this cult environment may be considered criminal activity. If we're thinking about brainwashing,
Yeah,
suppression behaviors, especially when you think about vulnerable populations, children,
yeah.
women,
Well, there's plenty of examples of,
yeah,
different. We don't need to get into,
no.
pointing fingers at specifics, but plenty of examples of, religious sects who have,
Mhm.
turned in that dark direction. And so there's a question in that though. Do you think that, like, I mean, what is it about, you know, religion, or is it even, religion's quote unquote fault that these things happen? Whereas religion just end up getting sort of co-opted for someone who would have
Mhm.
had, dark and manipulative intentions anyway.
No, I think the dark and manipulative intentions come from a few who have the wrong, yeah, who just are looking for wrongdoing because they're greedy and power hungry and want to capitalize on something, so they're using religion in the wrong way. I would say that, you know, whatever an individual decides to do, it's that they're deciding to do it. So if you, you know, like the practices of having a strict, prayer schedule, or, having to, you know, f- participate in a certain religious act on a regular basis, or, modifying your clothing because, your religious practices align with that. That's great. I totally appreciate that. And that's your individual choice, but the important thing is the choice rather than feeling like you're in an oppressive environment and your religion is used against you. And I think that's where it can get scary,
Yeah.
especially for vulnerable populations.
Yeah.
So, I hope that makes sense. If
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking, no, as you're talking, it makes a lot of sense. And I think of, you know, like the Taliban,
yeah.
right? Like to enforce, it's one thing for individuals to say, you know, I, because I follow this spiritual practice and I am adherent to this religion, I follow these teachings, I'm making, these choices about my manner and my dress and my morality and how I carry myself and, what I eat, things like that. But you're doing it because that's the what you believe in, and there's a lot of strength and comfort in ritual and,
Mhm.
kind of, um these sort of common wisdom, spiritual traditions. But when you have a government that is using force and coercion
Mhm.
to impose that on people, and they don't have the choice and the will to do to make that decision, which,
Mhm.
is a little bit of what has happened in Iran.
Yeah.
Um, like that is not okay.
And that's where my belief is that government and religion should be separate.
Separation of church and state.
Yes.
Yeah.
And give people the autonomy.
Yep. There's those founding fathers again.
I know. I know.
Um, yeah. So definitely, lots of interesting
Mhm.
topics there.
I don't know that I got to your second or third
Don't
question.
worry about it. You did. So,
Okay.
uh, I want to move on to talking about more of our community.
Mhm.
So, we don't go to church, we
Mm,
don't follow a religion,
mm-mm.
but I think there's still elements of spiritual traditions that impact our community
Yeah.
and in the different social circles we're a part of. So I'm curious, like what parts of the community do you see impacting you subtly or directly that are influenced by religion?
I don't think there are any on a community level. I think it's more on an individual level. You know, I I'm surrounded by, for the purposes of, like thinking about the state of Maine, it's a good group of diversity between my work and, the people I interact with because of that, and, the people I've met in my past. And I just get curious, and like, oh, tell me about Ramadan. Like, what does that look like for you? And, share your practices. Or, the Seder's coming up. Like, yeah, what's that all about? I'm really curious. Or, it's Easter, and what does your family do for Easter celebration, and what does that look like? I I embrace learning from that lens and being curious, and I think that's the way I show respect and learn along the way. And it's interesting because, again, I grew up pretty religious. My From my mom's side, my mom went to Catholic school all throughout. She went to Catholic college, and pretty strict upbringing. Same with my dad, but he abandoned it as soon as he could, and was not enforcing it at home. But we did Sunday school and church, and I did it all the way through high school. And in fact, I sort of embraced it because it was a fun community of friends, even though my belief system was really taking a left-hand turn at this point, and there was some falling out related to some religious things on my mom's side of the family. And, it just didn't feel good anymore. But at the same time, there were practices that were comforting, that were related to community. And then I got curious about how other religions practice. And so I think from that, long story short, is that at that point, it became interesting for me to kind of take in and say, like, all right, I don't consider it cultural appropriation if I'm showing respect and wanting to participate in things that, are I'm welcome to. Like, I'm gonna go if I'm welcome into the mosque and I can explore it. When I was traveling in Southeast Asia, and I was reading a lot about Buddhism, and understanding those practices and getting to engage with monks. That was really cool. I got to learn a lot and you know, from embrace from a spiritual standpoint the importance of those practices for them, and how that just leads to the betterment of people, and what a beautiful thing. And some of those things I'd like to embrace myself. So I think that's how I see community impacting in a positive way, just for me personally. Uh, I don't think we live in an environment where there's any coercion whatsoever.
Well,
There's a lot of freedom.
Maine is very secular.
Yeah. And I also think that, there we have a little bit of diversity. Most of it is, some sector of Christianity, but I and, some Judaism, and, I've got some, some diversity, right? But I think that it's more just respecting each other's interests, and it doesn't seem to be a big part of the day-to-day routine or expectations, right? I don't
Mhm.
know. This is how I see it.
Speaking, this is a total tangent, but
Mhm.
just talking about Maine's quote unquote diversity or
Mhm.
lack thereof.
Yeah, typically.
The In the early 20th century, the KKK in Maine targeted Catholics
Oh,
because
no kidding.
there's no black people here, so
Oh,
they
gotta target someone.
yeah, gotta hate
Hmm.
someone, you know.
Wow.
Um,
Interesting,
yeah,
interesting tidbit.
yeah. So, do you ever um wish that you had some kind of spiritual community?
Um, that's a good question. I had thought about it when the kids were little, like how this might impact their upbringing, because I did like the routine. I mean, let's be honest, I didn't love going to church and hearing the priest, blah, 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 but and memorizing prayers, not knowing why.
Hmm.
But I did love the donuts, and I did love playing with my friends after church, and I did like the church dresses I got to wear and the fun shoes. There were some
Fun
the
shoes, huh?
fun shoes.
Yeah.
Those were my nice shoes.
Mm.
Uh I and we did a lot of service, and maybe that's part of, I do a lot of service now, and I'm you're like, yeah.
Yep.
I do a lot of community service, and I think a lot of it is rooted from my upbringing, because my mom was always doing things to give back to the community, and we were participating in different community events that centered around the church, and I think that was really neat. But I have found it in other outlets. And I think if I were to seek out another religion in a formal way, it'd probably be something very different from my upbringing. And I think it'd probably be an environment where I'd be welcomed open arms. And, I think in a way, my life is so busy, so I just surround myself with those people, and I'm in environments that almost feel like, I have an ability to just practice practice my beliefs in my everyday life by, giving back, being a good listener, being open-minded, supporting others, engaging in ways that give back to my community.
Being a decent human being.
Being a decent human being. So I don't know. How about you? I mean, if you, my guess is probably not, but I would even say that you're probably less, less interested in formal religion, but more interested in like the spiritual otherness. Like, oh, how
Yes.
like the big wide world,
Yes.
and how we're all interconnected. I mean, you will literally hug a tree you love for a half
That's
hour
my
if I let
religion.
you.
That and skiing and baseball.
Well, and that's it. And you think about things that maybe we don't know a lot about. What are the belief practices of indigenous population? Like, did they have formal religion? No, but we see that there was some sort of faith and ritualistic activities that were rooted in practices that,
Yeah.
you could maybe
I
consider
mean,
religion.
anywhere that human civilization has flourished
Mhm.
at any point,
Mhm.
there has been some search for meaning and search for a greater purpose
Mhm.
that meets the definition of religion or spirituality.
Yeah.
And so if that has happened everywhere,
Yeah.
the way I see it, everybody, it is a human thing.
It's
It makes
universal.
us human. It's a universal, trait of
Mhm.
people and of society. And ultimately, there's not, you know, there aren't, if there are a million different, spiritual traditions, there aren't a million different, you know, one single truths out there.
Mhm.
There's
Yeah.
one single truth out there that all religions are looking for.
Mhm.
And the, the practices and the terminology and
Yeah. The
how people describe it and
Mhm.
what they do in search of that truth is circumstantial to
Mhm.
where that practice and how that practice evolved.
Mhm.
So ultimately, like, you know, we can quibble over, whether there's one God or a thousand gods or no God or,
Mhm.
whatever it is. But it's all different ways of describing the same thing.
Yeah.
I think the other thing that is at the center of, almost all religion, spiritual practices is basically this ultimate sort of humility of understanding that we're not going to understand it.
Yeah.
And that like sense of awe and wonder and humility in the face of something that is bigger and greater than
Mhm.
us is the thing. I mean, that is the whole thing.
It's interesting you say that because, going back to your original question about why does religion exist? Well, it is. It's for people to make sense of why we're here,
Mm-hmm.
right? The Adam and Eve story, right? We need something that gives us grounding in why we exist. So when you put it that way though, I'd say my greatest religion is probably science.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
That's
we
what
go
I've
there too. Science
studied all my life
science
and
is a different way of
mhm,
getting at the same thing, which is just why are we here?
mhm,
What is the ultimate truth? What is the
mhm.
order of the universe? How can we know what happens next?
Yeah. Yes.
And it's just a different mode of thought.
So maybe then science is my religion, but I still think there is a need for having these spiritual practices because we're never going to know all of the truths. And
Yeah.
if we did, it'd probably be sobering of like, well, chance and a few atoms, bada bang.
Well, that's the thing too is with science is ultimately going to be unsatisfactory in that biggest ultimate question because you get to a point of things that are essentially untestable.
Yeah.
And science can't and shouldn't deal with things
Yeah.
that are untestable.
Well, because of ethics, right?
Well, I mean,
On
that's what
on
the
some.
scientific method is, right? You
Mm.
can't, and the idea of faith,
Mhm.
go back to that word, which is really important in all of this. The whole idea with faith is that you reach the point where you acknowledge that you can't understand further.
Yeah.
There's the limits of human understanding.
Mhm.
And then you're
Just
saying,
taking, yeah.
I have faith
Mhm.
that there's a God, there's this order to the universe, that,
Mhm.
these actions are the right actions to take based on,
Mhm.
this perceived order of the universe.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to question that because I am putting my faith in this.
Yes. And you wouldn't really have the control to get an answer anyway.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing I would say, another point I wanna make is that I'll probably lean into something in a way that I sort of wanna rationalize the purpose of my life, probably when I'm approaching my deathbed,
Mm.
right? Because 'Cause isn't that where most people have the come to Jesus moment? Or as the saying goes, like,
Yeah.
you're looking at the
Yeah.
end and
That or the
like,
first
"Oh,
time they do acid.
oh,
Yeah.
oh, I've never done that, so
Yeah.
I'm not aware."
Yeah.
But, yeah, I could see at that point, you're sort of reconciling, like, "Oh, did I do the right thing? Do I have any regrets?
Yeah.
What does it all mean?"
Yeah. Yeah.
So ask me then if
Yeah.
I'm aware, but if I just drop dead, well, then it never happened.
That'd make a good podcast episode.
My deathbed,
Yep.
like I'm on
Yep.
hospice?
Uh,
Wow, that's a long run, I hope.
yeah. No,
Okay.
that would be a good one to go find another co-host. Um, so thinking about our family, you mentioned
Mhm,
them a little bit, but
mhm.
you know, I would like Christmas to me is, it's not a Christian holiday. I'm sorry. Like it's not,
Mhm.
I mean, yes, we can, it is literally celebrating the birth of Christ.
Yes, but it's
But
been
the way we,
butchered.
yeah, the way we celebrate in the United States, it is not that.
Yeah.
But it is a wonderful holiday in its own
Mhm.
right. And, for me, I think we've even talked about this on the podcast, but, it's just about bringing family together and,
Mhm.
spending time and exchanging gifts and
Well,
just
it's just like
relaxing and enjoying like the last part of the year.
yeah. It's
But,
just like Easter,
well, this is where
which
I'm getting to. So
oh.
Easter to me, I've always felt like is kind of a ridiculous holiday for
Tell
non-Christians.
people what you call it.
Um,
Sorry
the
to
re-
all of my religious
no, I
family
mean,
out there.
like, Jesus would come to my dinner party and he would probably get a good laugh out of Return of the Zombie Jesus
Okay.
because that is basically what it is. We're celebrating the resurrection of
Mhm.
Jesus.
Yeah, but is he a zombie?
I mean, if you expire and then 3 days later you're up walking around, I,
Okay, okay,
if
okay,
look, if it
okay.
walks on two legs and quacks, it's probably a duck. So just saying. Um, but yeah, like, do you ever feel, um, I
But then
guess,
the bunny with the
yeah,
eggs,
it's just
it's
like
so
there, yeah,
wild.
and it's
Yeah.
like, I mean, there's, kids like it, and we've
Yeah.
always enjoyed it,
Yeah.
but like, and it's also like I've always liked Easter in the sense of it's like spring and all
Yeah.
that, but I mean, you know, the major religions of the world, Christianity,
Mhm.
Judaism, Islam,
Mhm.
have like really important rituals
Yes.
around this time of year, and we're just like, let's eat a bunch of chocolate and like hide some plastic eggs in the woods and make kids run around, try not to get ticks.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you didn't ask a question, but are you
Well,
looking for my
I'm
reflection
basically
on
is
this?
like, are we ridiculous? Is the question.
Well, yeah, and I think we don't try to hide the fact that we're ridiculous. I mean, we always
No, we lean into the
we lean into the
absurdity.
ridiculous and in this, and we are pretty transparent with the kids, right?
Yeah,
We're not trying to slate it as like semi-religious when it's convenient. There's chocolate
yeah,
involved and
yeah,
presents involved.
yeah.
Uh
We're not the twice a year going to church pretending.
no. No. And I have to say the times that I do go to church still, I'm all in, like, I'm really supportive because I'm there for a reason. I'm there because it's someone's funeral or someone's birth or a wedding, and I'm there for you. Like, I still have all the prayers memorized, and I'm the first to get the hymn book out and sing at the top of my lungs, and I'm there for it, and I think it's beautiful to share those moments, and I still don't wanna find myself going to church on a regular basis. despite
Mhm.
the those good moments to support others. But yeah, I wonder if it would be different if it was I don't know. I guess my best way of describing it is that I I have my spirituality and beliefs, and I don't think that there is a religion and how it's organized that align with that. And maybe there is, and I just haven't explored it and given it time. But what I will say is that it it kind of would be nice if there was something that you felt like you were, you think about you're celebrating the Seder with your family and you know the importance it is to your not only your religious practices and your family but the history of your people and this ritual is just a way to get everyone together and celebrate and appreciate the those experiences and I think that that has a unique power to it that
Mhm.
we don't explore necessarily, not in that way. But I think we have designed other practices that aren't rooted in religion as a family. So, it could be that we have family dinners every night and we are very open with our communication and honest with each other. And, when there's a big event happening and we need to support someone, we do that. Or I think those are probably comparable, but not as measured and routinized as you
Yeah.
might see in religion.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think, I'm a very mediocre Buddhist.
Mhm.
And, one thing about Buddhism is it's much more, at least at the heart of the canon. So setting aside the like different ways that, you know, again, the rituals and the trappings and stuff like that, like,
Mhm.
you know, the teachings of the Buddha is really about living in the moment
Mhm.
and being mindful and being aware of the true nature of the world
Mhm.
and the true nature of the self, which is essentially that doesn't exist. And we, I try to live that as much as possible and bring that awareness into my everyday,
Mhm.
so I feel less like I need to, you know, go to prayer or, have these sort of formal rituals.
Mhm.
But what I will say is, you know, and I'm thinking of like my grandfather's funeral, which was the last time that I was in a church,
Mhm.
and I actually read a Bible passage and did not burst into flames. So that was a good test to pass. But I think that those moments are, you do feel something, like it brings together a community, especially when you're there to celebrate the life of, whether it's like a wedding or a baptism or whatever,
Mhm.
like you're there to celebrate a person or people in your lives, and everyone's there for that purpose, and it really does create kind of a unifying community. And
Mhm.
I do think that a a good church does that.
Mhm.
You truly come out sort of transformed from the experience, and then you go out and do whatever you do during the week, and
Mhm.
come back and do it again the next week. But I think having those like centering rituals and
Mhm.
the community around it, um, I think it's really powerful. And I
Mhm.
think something that, I don't necessarily feel like I miss that in my life,
Mhm.
but it is, I can see the value in that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess it doesn't necessarily need to be in a formal way, but if you give yourself time to, well, you meditate, be able to meditate and regroup and ground yourself and remind yourself of the importance of those intentions and practices and continue forward. That's basically what, going to church is.
Yeah, yeah, and I do think that you kind of said it really well earlier, but most important thing is that you as an individual
Hmm.
are investing in this and
Hmm.
having some agency in your own
Yeah.
spiritual journey and not blindly following, a person
Hmm.
who is only a human just like you,
Hmm.
and may have, intentions that are not aligned with your own spiritual awakening.
Yeah. Yeah. That's important.
Yeah. Um, well, good chat.
Hmm.
I am wondering what you are still chewing on.
Oh, well, I guess what I'm still chewing on. I don't know. I don't know that I'm chewing on a lot. I guess, well, one thing that I want to continue doing is exploration. I guess it's nothing from our discussion, but just having an appreciation of religions. And I thought it was interesting how you're saying in, all civilizations, there was some form of religion. So it made me question if there are religious practices that have sort of faded out of popularity and
Many.
I'm not aware of them, and thinking about indigenous populations and some of the what native cultures had for more formal
Yeah,
religious.
well, think about this. Think
Yeah.
about, first of all, how many civilizations, how many cultures, how many languages, how many,
Yeah.
people have
Yeah.
basically been completely wiped off, gone
Mhm.
extinct, maybe because they never had written language, right?
Mhm.
Like one of the reasons that Christianity is so prevalent in the world is because of the Bible, which
Yeah.
was, that the rise of Christianity along with the invention of the printing press
Yes.
and this literacy, and then obviously the
Mhm.
English language and how viral that has become. So many spiritual traditions we would never know about because they were never written down, and
Yeah.
the people who would have experienced it are no
Deceased.
longer here.
Yeah.
And also, in more an insidious way, is that many of the followers of the largest religions of the world have systematically wiped out
Eradicated. Yeah.
people who had
Different
beliefs that
religions.
were not consistent with that.
Yeah, I mean, that's, I mean, that to me is so powerful as far as, just understanding and appreciating that. And, I certainly learned things while I was in grade school on these topics, but you just kind of get it in little blips and it's like, oh, moving on, moving on. So to actually digest it and understand it. I also think it'd be really interesting to get into how, thinking about native cultures and their relationship to the earth and how that, maybe it wasn't even considered formal religion per se, but was part of their spirituality,
Hmm.
how they understood themselves, why they were there, their relationship to their ecosystem, if you
Hmm.
will. I think that would be really interesting to learn more about. So I'm just gonna have to do, a deep dive into what books are
Hmm.
out there. We'll do some audiobook
Yeah,
listening.
I've got to topic related to that, that could be a whole other episode. So I
Oh,
didn't bring it up because we're trying to put a wrap on this one.
yeah, yeah. Okay.
So
That's what I'm chewing on then.
yeah,
Just my own learning
yeah.
and curiosity.
And, what's relatively ordinary?
Hmm. I think what's relatively ordinary is that, humans are seeking answers and need connection. And I think religion is one way that they can get that. And there are also other ways. And I think ultimately it's important to just be a good human
Just be a good human.
and maybe understand what a good human really is
Hmm.
rather than just saying you are one when you're not.
So the I'll end on something that I think is related to what you just said.
A good and humble human.
Yes, being humble is important.
Being humble is very important.
Um, do you know the parable of the three blind men and the elephant?
I think so, but you know me, I forget this stuff all the time.
So basically, there's these three blind men who encounter an elephant.
Oh,
And
yes,
they've never
yes.
encountered an elephant
I do
before.
remember this.
And so one of them um, encounters the trunk,
Mm-hmm.
and he's holding it and feeling it, and it's like long and moves very smoothly in all directions. He's like, oh, this animal is like a snake.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next one encounters the ear, and it's this like huge kind of velvety thin thing, and he's feeling it, and he's like, no, this is like it's like a leather blanket. And then the third one feels the leg, and he's like, no, you're both wrong. It's like a tree. It's like
Mm.
a trunk of a tree.
Mm-hmm.
And the point is sort of that, you know, when you don't have all of the information, which is we are all the blind men, right?
Mm-hmm.
You experience just what you experience, and you're drawn to draw conclusions
Yeah, based on that
based
limited
on that limited
evidence.
information. And if you're not willing to synthesize the information from the other people,
Mm-hmm.
or have the language and curiosity and communication to make that happen, you may wind up, you know, as warring factions, like
Yes.
in your corners fighting over, like, no, this is obviously a tree.
Yes.
No, it's obviously a snake.
Well, and that's why, going back to my thought on science being my religion, that the curiosity and use of the scientific method can help, sort of address that. There needs to be, it's like the art and science. It's like the spirituality and science of the
The
world.
yin and the yang.
The yin and the yang.
Yeah.
Oh,
Boom.
mic drop.
Boom.
Boom.
All right. I think we'll leave it there.
Okay,
We
sounds good.
solved the universe.
Done.
Done.
You're welcome, everyone.
Yes. Happy
Okay.
to make that happen.
Yeah.
All
All
right.
right. Signing off.
Signing off.